The second thing I love about this, he says, listen to my cry, for I am in desperate need, rescue me. That means come clean with God. Come clean with God. Do you remember that time I told you that he lost his integrity? He said, I'm on the king's mission. Because he lied about that, and you have to go back into 1 Samuel to read about it, because he lied about that, actually Saul, the king who was pursuing him, went into that village and he ran amok and destroyed the village. And later on, David was confronted with it, and when he was told what happened, do you know what I love about David? He didn't begin to make an excuse. He actually said, I'm guilty, it was my fault. It's a great thing when a person says it's my fault. Some of us blokes have trouble saying guilty. Don't we? But he was willing to say, it is my fault, I'm the guilty one. And that's a very important principle about recovering. To say, God, forgive me, I'm sorry. You heard of the two neighbors, didn't you? The two neighbors, they were really close and looked out for each other, maybe like you do. And when one was going on a short weekend holiday, and he went round and knocked on his neighbor's door, said, look, I'm away for 2 nights. Will you keep an eye on the house? He says, of course I will. So he says, here's the key, just pull the curtains, put a lamp on, put the radio on, make it look like the house is lived in. So that night, he went round to his neighbor's house. He was going to take his little dog, had a little terrier. He was going to take him to the park for a walk. So he went round to the neighbor's house, let himself in. The dog ran up the garden while he went in the house, and he put the lights on, drew the curtains, so it looked like someone was in. As he came out the door and was fixing the door, locking the door, the little dog was running up the path with the family rabbit in its mouth. He said, put it down, drop it. But it was too late. He went over to the rabbit and it was too late. It had left this life. So he picked the rabbit up, ran next door, put it on the kitchen table, said to his wife, get the hairdryer. He washed the rabbit and put it all together so it looked all fine, and then he brushed it with the hairdryer so all the fur was wet, dry, and then he went next door, got some fresh straw, put it in the rabbit hutch, and he put the rabbit like that looking out the front. Well, anyway, 2 days went by and the owner came back and he saw him pull up his car on the drive, and sure enough, after about half an hour, there was a knock on the door. And he walked into him and he said, while I was away, was everything all right in the house? He said, yeah, everything was fine. He said, well, did anything strange happen? He said, well, what do you mean? Well, he said, did anything strange happen in the garden? He says, well, what exactly do you mean? Well, he said, 4 days ago, our family rabbit died. And we buried him down the garden. And miraculously, he's got back in the hutch and he's staring out the window. You know the secret to that, don't you? Be sure your sins will find you out. That's what Granny used to tell you. And I want to tell you, the way to get out of the difficult times in our life is, one, to begin to call out to God, but secondly, to come clean. Not to try and cover the tracks, not to make excuses, but to say, Lord, I am really sorry for the wrong things in my life. And, Lord, I acknowledge that I've been hurt. Lord, there's a lot of pain in my life. And we can be honest and real with God.